When are we okay now?
Okay to go.
Okay, thanks everybody. Good afternoon, good to see you all. Can I welcome you to this afternoon's Cabinet, and anybody who's watching in on the live stream, welcome to you as well. We have a really important agenda today. So let's go to the first item, and that's the apologies for absence. And I believe we only have one apology, and that's from Councillor Joanne Watkins, the leader of the Liberal group. I should have done introductions first. Sorry, I'm Peter Fox, leader of the council. Can I invite my cabinet colleagues to introduce themselves? Perhaps I could start with Phil.
Thank you, Leader. Councillor Phil Murphy, Cabinet Member for Resources.
Richard.
Councillor Richard John, Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Mon Life.
Penny.
Sorry, I'm having difficulty. Hello, I'm Penny Jones and I'm Cabinet Member for Social Services, Safeguarding and Health.
Sarah.
Hi, I'm Councillor Sarah Jones, Cabinet Member for Social Justice and Community Development.
Jane.
Councillor Jane Pratt, Cabinet Member for Infrastructure and Neighbourhood Services.
Paul.
Paul Jordan, Cabinet Member for Governance and Law.
And finally, Bob.
Bob Greenland, Enterprise and Land Use Planning.
Thank you all. We're also joined by Dimitri Petruni, leader of the opposition Labour group, and I'm not sure if we have Frances Taylor, but she may be joining us shortly. She is the leader of the independent group. So can I welcome you all, and let's go into the agenda. Item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any at this point?
I have an interest, Leader, in the Welsh Church Act Fund. I'm a committee member of one of the applicants.
Okay. So
Likewise, there is one of the applicants is a church that I serve.
Okay, thank you both. You'll be sent an electronic proforma to sign and send back to Democratic Services as well. Anybody else finds an interest as I go through the agenda, can you please declare it verbally when you find it? Okay. It was remiss of me also, we're joined by many officers. Thank you all for coming, and can you introduce yourselves if you're called on to speak, please? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to take us on to item 3 and the first report, and I'll take us through this. And this is the coronavirus COVID-19 risk management update. And this is to provide us with an update of the arrangements the council is continuing to have to identify, manage and mitigate the risks in response to the pandemic. As all members know, the pandemic has posed an unprecedented challenge to our way of life and the way of in which we provide services. Indeed, it's challenged all parts of society. We have had to pause or repurpose a lot of our usual work as Cabinet was directed towards the emergency response effort, and a fantastic effort it's been, and a big thanks to everybody who's been part of that. Earlier this month, Cabinet evaluated progress against the purpose and strategic aims that had been put in place, and as a consequence, Cabinet then revised those the purpose and strategic aims to reflect the Council's transition from response more toward recovery. And this is also, all of this has come at a financial cost, with huge additional costs incurred in responding to the emergency response effort and significant losses of income as services cease to operate. And no doubt we'll hear a bit more about that in future reports in the agenda. Our finances have been stretched to breaking point. Despite the many challenges, these efforts have resulted in new ways of doing things which we need to embrace, and some of that will form part of a lasting legacy of transformation as we move forward and finding ways to do things in a different way. Our role in the coming months will be to create the conditions for residents and businesses to take forward those first steps of recovery, and we've done a lot of work in that regard so far, and we wish our businesses well in trying to get back on their feet following such a difficult and challenging period, and it won't be easy for many of them or many of their employees, I know. When Cabinet reconvened in early May, it received an update on the risk management arrangements the Council had in place to identify, manage and mitigate risks in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The risk management arrangements have also been maintained and adapted as we transition from the response to the recovery phase. The Council has also adapted the internal response structure that link into the wider formal Gwent structures, and a diagram of that structure and arrangements in place can be found at Annex 1 of the report. There are updated internal arrangements in the immediate response phase. This was coordinated initially via what we call the ERT, the Emergency Response Team, and that group was formally stood down on the 29th of May, and the Council's Strategic Leadership Team took on the ongoing responsibility to oversee the ongoing response. And SLT, Senior Leadership Team, I know, continue to meet twice a week in that regard. COVID-19, there is a COVID-19 coordinating group, and that has also been established, which is chaired by our Chief Officer for Resources. And the role of the group is to maintain oversight of the ongoing emergency response, and where it it's highlighted where what it's doing in those bullet points in 311. You'll see there receiving those updates from the SCG and those other areas there. The ERT was guided by an established risk register. And subsequent to the ERT being stood down, the COVID-19 related risks are being assessed by the COVID-19 coordinating group. The residual risks have now either transferred to the Council's main strategic risk register, or where the risks are operational in nature, they've been transferred into the service business plans. COVID related risks are assessed on a weekly basis, and as required by the COVID-19 coordinating group and reported into, considered and acted on by the SLT. Appendix 1 provides an overview of the updates made to the strategic risk register. The high and medium risk previously identified by the ERT in the 6th of May Cabinet report are now considered low risk, with the exception of the financial issues of sustainability. COVID-19 specific subgroups that have been established to support ERT have similarly been stood down and resultant activity embedded back into directorates. The RT and any other subgroups can quickly be reconvened if the situation arises, and we've seen examples of where that might be happening across the UK. Bolton comes to mind, and other places. So we have to be prepared to stand things back up, because this pandemic hasn't gone away yet. We're just trying to control it, and hopefully we can keep the lid on it, as it seems to be happening in Wales at the moment. External arrangements, well, Monmouthshire's links with external responding organisations via the Gwent Strategic Coordinating Group continue. That group, the SCG, is chaired by Gwent Police and covers their footprint, the Gwent footprint, and representatives from the emergency services, local authorities, health organisations, the military, NRW, and various utilities and Welsh Government all sit on that group, and our representative is the head of People Services. And that group then are responsible for setting the strategic objectives and coordination of the partner agency response to COVID-19. The Council now provides a weekly situation report to the SCG, and these are collated and sent weekly then to the Emergency Coordination Centre, who then report directly to Wales Government, who in turn then report up to COBRA. So in addition to the above, I meet with other council leaders and ministers on a weekly basis. We were meeting virtually daily for many weeks, and I know my cabinet colleagues have been flat out all through this as well, liaising with their counterparts across Wales. Work never seemed to stop all the way through this pandemic for them as well as myself. SCG are now only needing to meet on a weekly basis, and the focus for them now is to both plan ahead and to ensure that robust arrangements are in place to respond to any further outbreak or second wave, and they assess those by those criteria laid down in 3.21 of the report. So the risk now concerns any resultant resurgence of the COVID-19 cases, whether it be through a local outbreak or a second wave as we move toward autumn and the flu season, where that capacity of the NHS could be really challenged. And in order to respond to these risks, the following measures in 3.23 continue to be essential to maintain the reduced level of transmission and avoid resurgence of COVID-19 cases and deaths. And we've got to pay a big thanks to our wider community for the way they have embraced the the expectations of them to social distance and to act in accordance to the law, and that has helped us maintain those lower cases that we're experiencing now in Monmouthshire and across Wales. So colleagues, there's a lot in that report, but I hope it gives reassurance to you and to those who are looking in that the authority has responded appropriately, quickly, is moving as it should do, and is liaising with all of the key partners, is very aware of the risks that it has before it. We are monitoring those, we are keeping on top of things, and we're ready to act whenever we need to if it becomes necessary. So colleagues, the recommendation in the report is basically to note what I've taken you through, and it's that Cabinet endorse the arrangements the Council continues to have in place and the risks that are being actively managed in response of the pandemic. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to any questions, or perhaps before I do that, I invite your author of the report, Peter Davis, in to see if there's anything he'd like to add to the report.
Thank you very much, Leader. Yes, you've covered the report very well, very comprehensive in your update. I think it's just only a couple of points really. Firstly, just to highlight that a report was received by Public Services Select Committee on Monday, and that report was substantively based on the report that you are now considering today. From the feedback I've received, very good challenge during that committee meeting. The report was very well received, and as a result of the good scrutiny that took place, an acceptance that one of the risks that is attached in Appendix 1 that positions itself within the Strategic Risk Register, that the post-mitigation risk level is actually adjusted from low to medium, and that's in respect of, I guess, us services remaining as sustainable into the future. And I guess that very much ties into your point around the gravity of our current financial circumstances resulting from COVID, and the very fact that at this juncture we cannot with confidence confirm that we are able to sustain services across the board. So I guess we'll come on to it in time later in the agenda in terms of the month 2 report, but clearly the work that we will now progress over the coming months by way of the budget recovery plan, that will obviously draw conclusion, and we will be able to better reassess that risk. And then the only other point really is just one around the nature of being in and amidst this COVID pandemic. The emergency response team was stood down at a point, as you highlighted. That was as a consequence of our assessment of where we were in transitioning from response to recovery, and clearly, as will be the case if matters escalate in terms of a major outbreak or in fact a second wave, then clearly those structures are in place to be stood up or down as required. So it is just to give you that comfort. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, and thanks for your work in coordinating all of this effort as well. Colleagues, anybody wish to come in from Cabinet? If you could raise your hand in the taskbar, that would be a chat bar, that would be useful. No, nothing there. So I'm going to move us. I won't read that recommendation out again. Well, I will. It's easy. That Cabinet endorse the arrangements the Council continues to have in place and the risks that are being actively managed in response to the coronavirus. You'll see the voting opportunity in the chat bar. If you could go ahead and submit your vote, please. We should get to 8, so please try again if it's there. You go. Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Okay, thank you, Peter, for that. Okay, can I take us on then to the second item on the agenda? Well, it's not the second item, it's item 4, and that's the outdoor education service. Richard John.
Thank you very much. I'm really proud that this administration has been fully committed and remains fully committed to delivering outdoor education. Our outdoor education service is a really important rite of passage for children and young people in our county. It teaches leadership skills, self-confidence, teamwork, many practical and vocational skills, and physical education through adventure sports. It's especially important for pupils from less well-off backgrounds, and that's why we ensure that children eligible for free school meals benefit from a subsidy to ensure they can access outdoor education. It's also a really important means of helping engage pupils who perhaps exhibit challenging behaviour or are at risk of being excluded from school. Recently, we took the decision to dissolve the Gwent Outdoor Education Service following the withdrawal of our partners, the other local authorities in Gwent. 4 local authorities collectively operated 3 outdoor education sites. We are now in a position where 1 local authority is running 2 sites. Now, since the lockdown began in March, both sites have been closed and staff have been furloughed, and we will look to redeploy staff within the county as the furlough scheme comes to an end. Our outdoor education centres have no bookings until next year, and we appreciate we're in volatile times, and it's unclear when schools will be in a position to recommence outdoor education residential visits. In the short to medium term, it's very clear that there will not be any business for the outdoor education sites for the remainder of 2020. After almost 6 months off school, outdoor education will not be the top priority for our schools. So today I propose that both sites remain closed for the remainder of 2020. After that, it's unpredictable, but I hope that we will see an uplift in outdoor education visits. This will be gradual, so I propose that initially we just open 1 site in January 2021, and the site with the greatest capacity is Gilwen. In light of successive budget deficits in recent years, including a deficit of £116,000 in 2019-20, as one authority continues to bear the cost of running 2 sites, which was previously run by 4 authorities, I've asked officers to consider the options in a further report about the long-term future of the service. As I say, both sites operated at a loss last year, and this is not sustainable. But I must repeat, we are fully committed to outdoor education. but this commitment means taking decisions to protect the service. These considerations will include how we can maximise the benefits of the facilities and take a more commercially minded approach. Current losses, while both sites are closed, are enormous, currently expected to be £350,000 in this financial year. Continuing to carry this deficit while both sites are closed will be massively challenging. But I very much hope that we will be able to restart our outdoor education service at the earliest opportunity, because we recognise the really important role that it plays in the life chances of young people, and how it remains a key plank of our #1 priority, which is to offer children and young people the very best possible start in life.
Thank you, Richard. Yeah, I think I certainly have always been proud of our outdoor education service, and my own children went through it, as many of people watching here, their children would have gone through it. It adds such fantastic value to our young people's education and growing up. And I think we will always remain committed to outdoor education. It's really important. But absolutely take on board all of the things that you've shared, Richard, and let's just hope in the start of the new year that we're not still in this horrible situation, and that we see confidence coming back into our schools, and children from our own schools and other authorities starting to want to use that outdoor education centre, recognising what a wonderful thing it is. So I support your way forward. Colleagues, please put your hand up in the box in the chat if you wish to say something. Okay, yes, Councillor Jane Pratt.
Thank you very much, Leader, and I just want to endorse what's been said and say that, I too really value the opportunities that these outdoor education centres provide to all children, irrespective of their background. And, I really support this report, because a lot of our neighbouring authorities have closed their outdoor education facilities, but this moving forward will give us a way to make sure that we've got a fully sustainable model moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Penny Jones.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just doing the same. As a user, when I was a lecturer in Cross Keys, I spent many weekends there with students, and it was so beneficial. It's so much more than outdoor education. It does so much to help forge relationships and friendships that last forever, and help people's confidence to grow, young people's confidence to grow. So although I've suffered there in the snow and the wind and caving, which I absolutely hated, I really am quite sad that we're getting rid of Hillston Park, but I totally understand the reasons for its closure at this time, and for Gilwern to go ahead. So I support everything that Councillor John has said. Sorry, it's me again. It's a mistake.
Okay, thank you. I mean, obviously we're not talking of closures as such at the moment, only to retain the current situation of our centres being closed until the new year, where we hopefully will have some people starting to use it again. But we look forward to that more in-depth report from you, Richard, in due course. I see is Ian on the line, Ian Saunders. Is there anything you'd like to add, Ian? I think it's Ian, yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Ian Saunders, Chief Operating Officer for Mon Life. I think it's been a really good discussion, and really value the comments made by members. Clearly the service is in a catastrophic place at the moment. We are really positive though for the future. Whether, the discussions have got to be long and detailed, whether we need facilities, whether we can deliver programmes in a different way. But I can tell you the team are so committed to giving a better outcome and delivering